have a total experience of 7.3 years,
Yeah,
and it has manual and automation testing, and I see you've worked on web service testing as well.
correct.
Okay, so you have experience in API testing as well. All right.
Yeah.
How many years do you have in manual and how much in automation, how much in API?
So in purely into manual, it's around 4.5 years, and
Okay.
then into automation using Java and Selenium, it's 3.8, and in API automation is around 1.5 years using REST Assured
Oh,
and BDD Cucumber.
1.5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, can you brief me about your testing career up until now? What all you've worked on, tools, technologies,
Mhm.
and everything. Your roles and responsibilities currently.
Sure. So I'll start with my current project only. So currently I'm working as a senior quality engineer. The project I'm working on is into insurance domain, where we are having around 26 API services on which I was working. So my basic roles and responsibilities were involved manual testing of those API using Postman as a tool, where we used to validate the status codes, then response body, response time, headers as well, and then mapping that response data into the data which is available in the database. As well as I was involved into database testing using dbware software, which is based on the postgresql database. And other things I was involved into the test planning, then writing test cases, then executing those test cases. I was also involved into execution of the test source for our regression testing and smoke testing. So we had around 280 test cases in our regression. So we need to execute it within 15 periods. Every 15 days we need to execute it. So I was involved into that also. Recently I got a chance to lead a team of 3 to 4 people for one particular service, which was FDIC, Federal Division of Insurance Corporation. So we received that service and I started testing that service on my own. Then I guided 2 to 3 people that how we can test that particular service, and we managed to deliver it within the time frame which were given to us. So yeah, that was also again involvement into all the agile ceremonies which we are having, like scrum meeting we are having, sprint planning, sprint retrospective, all those things. Then defect trash calls also I was also involved into client interaction, where we had to discuss some a requirement clarification or requirement understanding. For that also we had a meetup with client. So yeah, that was a brief about me.
Okay, so you follow the agile methodology currently.
Yes, yes.
What is the duration of the sprint?
15 days.
So can you take me through the testing activities in those 15 days in a given sprint?
Sure. So it started with the grooming first, and then in the grooming we used to plan that for this sprint how many user stories we are going to work on. We also need to take in consideration what are the backlogs we are having, what are the backlog defect or backlog user stories we are having, and based on which and based on the sprint velocity we have, we planned that for this particular sprint how many user stories we are going to work on. So it started with our grooming call, where BA will groom us about the requirements which we need to work on. Then we had a sprint planning meeting, where we have to give estimation, we have to give story points that how many time period we are going to need for that particular requirement or particular user story. After that we started studying the user story in detail. Then the 2 3 days will go into designing our test cases, which will consider positive as well as negative scenarios to be tested. And then we started with the execution. So within a time period of 15 days, I used to basically, if I talk about me, so I used to work on around 2 to 3 user stories having a story pointer of 3 to 4. And parallelly, if we are having any old defects, then that defects needs to be addressed. At the end we had a sprint review meeting, where we need to give our overall progress on the task which was assigned to us, and then followed by the sprint retrospective, where we used to discuss that what things went well and where we need to improve further.
Okay, so you have experience in preparing test plan, right?
uh, we had a lead, he used to do it, but yeah, we participated in that.
Okay. Can you tell me the components of a test plan?
So test plan, we have like we need to mention our scope, then we need to have the objectives, Then we need to consider the risk factor, which can delay our testing. We need to mention estimation. We need to mention our entry and exit criteria for the testing. We also need to mention uh, reports. Then test deliverables we also need to mention, and most importantly the estimations should be also the part of your test plan, which will give
You
us that
mentioned.
how many
Hmm.
resources we are having and how the work has been assigned to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned reports. Which reports will you add into your test plan?
No, that will not be a part of your test plan, but we do have reports like test closure report, test summary report, defect summary reports. Those we do
Okay.
have. Yeah.
Okay. Right. What all do you have in your entry and exit criteria? What all points are present in that?
So entry criteria basically defines what things you need before you start your testing, while exit criteria gives you a sense that when will you conclude your testing and what are the list of the documents should be ready by the end of your testing. So entry criteria uh, would include your build should be ready, you should have your test data, your test plan, all the documents, your the pre-documents, test strategy, your test plan, test methodology, those things should be clear. Then your estimation should be clear. Those things will come under your entry criteria. Your data should be, the test data should be ready. Your if your testing is related to databases, then all the requirement which we need for the testing, the tools and all, we should be ready with those. Talking about the exit criteria, we should have our test summary report, our defect summary report, all our we can say traceability matrix should be ready. Then how many test cases passed, failed, or the mapping is done. Again, yeah, reports and all.
There are two very important things in entry criteria that was missed. One is whether your test cases are prepared and reviewed
Mm-hmm.
completely. That
Mm-hmm.
you didn't mention. Okay, that is very
Yeah,
important.
yeah,
And
actually.
whether or not the build is testable. So you need to
Yeah,
have
build is
a.
stable or not. I mentioned about the build is ready or not. Just forgot to
Yeah,
mention that it should be stable as well.
right. Yeah, the environment should be ready for you to test.
Environment should be ready. Yeah.
Yeah. And exit criteria is. Can you repeat that once again, please? I remember just 3 points. Yeah.
Exit criteria, we should have all the test cases, set of test cases which we have tested or written. Then we should have
Mm.
a traceability matrix. We should have
Mm-hmm.
test summary report, test closure report, and defect summary report as well. And all the defects should be closed. So yeah, that will be included into our defect summary report.
But these are the deliverables that you're talking about. What is the criteria with which you'll decide, okay, now we can stop testing?
So yeah, so all high priority defects should be closed. No defects should be open, and the all the test cases should be executed, which are related to our critical functionalities or critical flow, we would say.
Okay, how would
Yeah.
you, for example, say you had written in your sprint, you had some 10 user stories and you
Mm-hmm.
had written some 500 test cases for them. Okay,
Okay.
and finally the build got delayed from the dev side.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier you were supposed to have 4 days of testing, now you have 2 days of testing.
Okay.
What would you do with that? And there is no stretching the deadline is going to stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you be your approach be in this situation?
In this scenario, we need to figure out that what are the high priority test cases or critical functionality test cases we need to figure out, because we write test cases in very detailed manner. So there are test cases which will be negative also, or there are some test cases which are written for the optional attributes also, which can be skipped for that particular period of time, and we need to focus on the very critical, very important, which cannot be skipped. Those test cases we need to figure out, and we need to test those test cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the difference between functional and sanity testing, and when do we do both?
So sanity testing we basically do when we receive a build, and sanity testing gives us a sense that the build which has come, it is testable, or all the main functionalities which were considered as part of that particular build are ready to be tested. Functional testing will deal with in detail testing of all those functionalities.
So what is smoke testing then?
Smoke testing is basically it deals with the build, that build is ready and build is stable for testing.
So you mean sanity and smoke would happen at the same time?
Uh, uh, kind of. It can happen at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, do you watch like cricket matches or anything on Hotstar or any Sony Live, Netflix, these apps? Do you use them?
Yeah. Recently, on Geo Cinema, it is free, right? So we watch it on Geo Cinema.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So say you are watching a live video, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
cricket match is going on and you're watching that on the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me five best negative test cases that you would write for testing that functionality of the player?
Okay. Negative testing. So basically, if we are resizing the window, that will be the
Mm-hmm.
one scenario. So whenever we are resizing the window, is there is any lag in the video play? That is one point of testing. Second thing is if we are checking with different quality, like 144, 240, 360 pixels, 480, 720, 1080, those pixels. So whenever you are switching between the pixels, what is the seamlessness in the video play? Is it taking time? How much time it is taking? Is it directly getting converted into that particular quality and it's getting played? Second, in YouTube we are having it's having a browser play, then we are having a mini player, and then we are having a full screen. So
Yeah.
if resize the window by dragging, if there is an option, if we drag the window size, how will it affect that particular video playback? Second thing, on the video screen whenever we are hovering, then there are multiple options. So if we are interacting with those options, like we are going to settings, we are changing the language, we are changing any other things, then does that is the video get buffer, or is there any lag in that particular video? Those points can also be considered to be tested.
Anything else?
Just give me a moment.
Yeah. Because all of your cases were surrounding whether the video will resume immediately or not. Is there
Hmm.
anything else you can think of?
We can test same video with the different browsers. That will be considered as part of cross browser.
Okay.
And if you are scrolling now, this will be a part of functional requirement. But if you are scrolling on the page, does the playback will resume or it is continuing? That can also be tested.
Okay.
What else we have? Yeah, that's all I can think of right now.
Okay. No problem. Say if you have to test, you must have withdrawn cash from an ATM, right?
Correct.
So when we are trying to withdraw the cash, there is field that comes and we need to enter the amount in that field,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what all test data will you try to input in this field to check whether it is working fine? Variations of test data.
Okay, so first would be if we are passing it with 0, because it should have some value if we are withdrawing the cash. So if we are continuing with any empty field and we are trying to process further, or we are just entering 0000 and we are trying to process further,
Mm-hmm.
then if we are using any valid data but the data is into digits like 1437, but it
Mm-hmm.
because it will withdraw into hundreds, right? So
Yeah.
if we are trying to withdraw in 1247, or if we are trying to withdraw with some points like 1400.75, that can also be tested.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, these varieties of data we can test. Minus we cannot enter through that numpad, so that won't be into consideration. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this much data we can test basically.
Is there anything else?
We can try like how much amount we are having in our bank, and we can try exceeding that limit. For example, I'm having 10,000 and I'm trying to withdraw 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if above the limit of the amount which I'm having in the account, how does the system react? Do I get the error message, or just like ATM print the receipt that you don't have enough balance, like that.
Okay. Anything
Yeah.
else?
Mm. For test data, I think this much. Yeah, this much only.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, you mentioned a test summary report, right? That you
Mhm.
prepare at the end of the cycle. What all are the contents of the test summary report?
So, Trina, we used to prepare it like it was a daily task for us in our earlier project also.
Okay.
When our actually the manager changed. So what we needed to do is every day we need to mention that how many test cases we have written for that
Mm-hmm.
particular day, out of which how many we have executed, how many we have passed, and then how many failed. So that was a DSR we used to send daily status report. And talking about if we are preparing it bi-weekly or in a month also, so yeah, it will contain total number of test cases we have written, then how many we have executed, how many passed, how many failed, is there any defect found, that also we can uh, mention in that.
So, do you prepare any such summary report at the end of your, for example, say you're about to release something, you're about to give a sign off.
Mm-hmm.
So, a summary report for that release, maybe, or the sprint or the features that you've tested. Do you prepare any summary report for that?
Yes.
What all are the contents of that?
uh, in those, like we used to present in front of client with the graphs and pie chart what we have. But if I talk about the Excel, then it will be like test case ID, it will have test cases, it will have who has written it, that person name, then when it was written, when it was executed, what was the status of that execution, those all things will be included in that summary report.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you worked ever on preparing release notes?
No.
Okay. Okay. No problem. What would you say has been your most challenging experience till now in your current project?
uh, Recently, like before 4 to 5 months, when our project was at the end, like we needed a sign off, and we received some user stories, but we were not providing the proper description of those, but not description and acceptance criteria also, only we had a title and one liners mostly in the as a part of summary. So that was very challenging for us because understanding, we tried to communicate with the developer, but then developer used to communicate something else, BA used to say something else. So that phase was very challenging being a tester, because if we are not clear with the requirements, then testing it will be very critical. So that was. And talking about the automation, if we have to test any particular APIs for multiple test data using, say we are using data providers or parameterization or any other approach using scenario outlines and all that, that was bit difficult. But I wouldn't say that it was that challenging. Handling people is most challenging, I would say,
So,
because
how do
they.
you handle it? How did you manage the first situation?
So first was like I first approached BA only, but then they did not respond well. It didn't went well. So then I had discussion with the developer. So as a developer, were like developing that particular functionality, they have better understanding. At the same time, I addressed this issue in our Scrum call, when there was Scrum Master was there, my lead, development lead, and BA was also there. So I directly tell Scrum Master that from our testing team, no one will work unless and until there is acceptance criteria of that particular user story. And he also agreed to that, but that time was very challenging. Everyone was like running for to complete their task, so that can't blame BA as well in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Mm-hmm.
we were able to sort it out.
Okay.
We, yeah.
Okay. Good. Say for example, if you have a cake, okay,
Hmm.
a round cake, and you get to cut it 3 times,
Okay.
but you need to have 8 equal pieces.
Hmm. I have heard about this question, which is two slices on the upper part and one slice from the middle one. It will divide it into eight.
Okay, you've been asked this question before.
Yeah, actually, my niece asked me this question. She was solving some puzzles and all, so
Okay.
I remember that because.
Okay. Okay, so say there is a room,
Mhm.
okay, with a door and the door is closed, and inside the room there are three light bulbs.
Okay.
Okay. Outside the room there are three switches and for each of the bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can use the switches however you want, manipulate
Mm-hmm.
the switches however you want.
Mm-hmm.
But once you open the door, you can't change them.
Okay.
Okay. So you need to identify which switch is for which bulb, and in
Mm-hmm.
two attempts. Okay, all the bulbs are working.
Okay.
Okay.
In two attempts, I need to figure out, right?
Yes. How will you do that?
Okay. So let me understand this. We are having a room, door closed. Inside there are three bulbs. Outside there are three switches.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
sorry. You have only one attempt, not two. Yeah.
Yeah, because in two attempts it will be,
Easy. Yeah.
yeah,
One
very easy,
attempt.
right? Okay. So I'll press the middle button.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll open the door basically.
Okay.
So and I'll see that which bulb has lit. So if in the room, if the middle bulb is lit, then according to order, I can assume and I can tell that which bulb has lit or which button is related to which bulb. Second, if there is any option of peeking, then that will again help.
Mm-hmm. You'll get to open the door only once. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the door of glass or I can't see through?
You can't see through.
So yeah, as I earlier said, I'll go with the middle button and
But what if they are not in proper order? That's you are assuming that you'll press the middle button and you'll open the door and see, and the middle one will glow. But what if
hmm,
they are not? That's and say what if they are in three different corners? Then which is the middle? You're taking a very happy path scenario.
yeah.
Okay, no problem.
So,
Yeah, no, no, it's fine. Please.
mm,
So I'll tell you the answer.
mm-hmm,
You switch on any one of them.
mm-hmm,
Okay, first, don't open the door. Then
okay.
switch the second button. Okay, switch on the close the first one, switch on the second one,
Mm-hmm,
then open the door.
mm-hmm.
There is one bulb already glowing.
Which will be, yeah, and one will be heat up little bit.
Heated.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, all right. What are the different type of authentications that we have in Postman?
In Postman, we are having around 5 to 6 authentications. One is API key, bearer token. We are having basic authentication, digest authentication, OAuth 1.0, and OAuth 2.0. These
Have
are
you
the.
used all of them?
No, no. In our organization, we used bearer token only. So
Okay.
for that also, we had one post request. Using that, we used to generate bearer token. Time limit for it was around 10 minutes. After every 10 minutes, we need to regenerate the token and use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, if your token has expired, you've crossed the 10 minutes, what will be the HTTP error code that you'll get?
We'll get 401 unauthorization to status code.
Okay. Okay. And how does 403 differ from 401?
401 is unauthorized, 403 is forbidden. So you might have access, but you are forbidden to access. So the request has not failed. It's trying to just tell you that you are not authorized person to access that particular resource. And when we are getting 401, either your URL is incorrect or your authentication code is incorrect. So yeah, that is the difference.
Okay. Let's take Amazon as an example.
Mhm.
When will I get 401? When will I get 403?
So if you are not a registered user, whenever we are using username and password, then you will get 401 obviously. And about 403, if you have account on Amazon, but you are trying to access Amazon Prime Video or Amazon Pay or any other Amazon services, then you should get 403, because as you have not opt for those services, you are forbidden from using those services.
Can you go back to 401? What did you mention? That I'm not a registered user. Then what will happen?
uh, as a so we can use Amazon, but whenever we have to buy, we have to log into that particular website, right? So
Correct.
if you are not a registered user and you are trying to buy something, you will get 401 unauthorized, because it will
But
ask
why?
for username and password.
Yeah, correct. At
Hmm.
that time, it will give me 401 when it asks me for username password.
It will say you are not registered.
Are you getting any noise from my end? Let me know.
No, no.
Okay, yeah, go on.
So if it's a part of authentication, then definitely you will get 401.
What
If
is
we are
the
using
point?
like
Hmm.
basic authentication, if we are using for that particular API, then in that case we need to mention our username and password.
Right. So, what is the point at which I will get 401? What is that step?
mm, Whenever we have to place the order.
Whenever we have to place the order.
Yeah.
Okay. Say I've selected the item that I want to purchase,
Mm-hmm.
and I said proceed to checkout or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as soon as I click proceed to checkout, will I get it at that point, or will I get it after I enter the credentials? When will I get it?
No, no,
Before
once
entering.
you go for proceed, then in that case only it will ask to log in you.
And that is when where I will get 401.
Okay, that
What do you use the bearer token for?
bearer token basically used to authenticate that particular request to go for that particular resource of data. So
What does it mean to when you authenticate? What does it mean? What are you doing? What is the system doing?
uh, system kind of opening the gate for that particular data or the resource which we are looking for.
Will it open directly or will it do something?
No, it will check for that access token, and then only it will open.
It will check whether the token is valid or not, right?
Valid or not, yeah.
So
Correct.
when you try to proceed to checkout, it will ask you for your username and password,
Password,
right?
correct. Hmm.
If the username and password is not correct,
Hmm.
then it will throw that error.
Yes.
It won't throw the error right when you say, okay, proceed to checkout.
Proceed, yeah.
It won't.
Once we click on proceed, it will open the login credentials page, and when we are entering our credentials which are not the right one,
Valid.
then in
Yeah.
that case we'll get the error. Yeah.
Yeah. That is when you'll get 401. Okay. Um, so say on you're testing something on the UI,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and it you got an error, okay,
Mm-hmm.
while testing. So how will you decide whether the bug has to be given to the front end developer or the back end developer?
Okay, so it depends on the error basically. For example, if we are having a page and we are trying to select something, or we are trying to click on something, and if it's not happening, then we will deal with the front end. But if like we are entering some data and it's not accepting the data, for example, if we take example of username and password, we have a valid things, we are trying to log in using username and password, but it's not getting logged in, then in that case we'll need to connect with the backend, because we need to make sure that in the backend those that data is already there or not.
Are you sure that is the only way to check it? Is there anything else that you can do?
We can check with another pair of data as well
Okay. So
with
what if the issue is that you
mhm,
entered your username Nitin and your password whatever XYZ. The
mhm.
front end is not passing the username as Nitin, but it is passing some hard coded value. Then where is the issue?
So then that particular attribute has been set up for some default value.
Yes. So that's not a backend issue, right? The issue
You
is on
know,
the front end.
front
It
end
is,
in the front end code, yeah.
yeah. So how can we check that? What is happening? Where is the issue? Is there any way to do that?
So we can check in the logs if any logs are there, and if it's happening on the UI only, then I think we need to go with the front end developer only.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is it possible to automate in Postman?
yeah, we can do automate into Postman, but it has its own limitations. So that's why the rest assured is best option.
What are the limitations of Postman
So
for
Postman
automation?
basically supports JavaScript code in which we can add text, right? But the thing is that that code is not reusable. Second thing, reporting options we don't get, and yeah, so it's a kind of a limited limit yourself for automation.
Is it possible to import data from an external source like an Excel or CSV in Postman for testing purpose?
In Postman, I haven't done that. In Rest Assured, we did,
Okay.
but Postman never tried. Also, not sure.
Okay. How do you provide different inputs in Postman that, say, for example, if you have to try with different usernames or different first name, last name,
Mhm.
how do you do that? Do you try with a new name each time? You like type the name each time, or do you have some other way to do that?
So, like for our testing, we used to use different payloads each time. Like
Yeah.
if in our services we need to pass account identifier, basically account numbers, and some branch code we had. So every time we had to pick the account number from the database, branch code from the database, which is related to that particular account number. We used to pass it manually in Postman, and we used to run the request.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you tried ever anything which can have a dynamic value and can be different every time?
No.
Okay. Right.
I think we do have options of global and local variables, but
Mhm.
that we used for the URL. Like we had one base URL which was a part of a global variable. We just used to change the endpoint or the parameters which are linked to that particular URL. So for that we used, but not for the payload.
So URL is the application's basic URL, right? The base
Yeah.
URL.
Hmm.
You define that in the global variable. What are the different types of variables we have, variable scopes we have in Postman?
We have local variable, environment variable, global variable. So
Okay.
that wasn't, I think, global variable. That was environment variable we had, because we tested for we had dev, QA, and UAT, three environments we had. So I think for that it was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What is, you are aware of collections, right? I saw in your resume you worked
Hmm.
with collections and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the different type of constructors that we have in Java?
In Java constructor, one is the default constructor. If we don't declare any particular constructor, then the compiler will initiate it. And then we are having constructor with no argument and constructor with argument. Those are like user defined constructors we are having.
Okay.
Yeah.
When does the constructor get called?
Uh, so whenever we are having like whenever we need to initialize the data members, in that case constructor will get called. Or if we are having object for that particular class also, in that case as well, constructor basically will get called whenever there is any initialization of the data members. Yeah.
Is it possible to access private members of a class outside the class?
No, private members are we use private keyword to limit the scope of particular those elements for that particular class, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we cannot
The,
have it. We can declare anything private inside a public method, and then we can call that method. That way we can do.
okay. There is no other way to access the private members of the class outside that class.
I don't think so.
Okay. Have you heard of getters and setters?
Yes, we use it in our Pojo classes.
Uh, and those classes, do they have any private members that are used that can be manipulated using the getters and setters?
Uh, all the elements are private. Methods are public, and we access methods only, like get id, set id, get username, set username, like that.
So username, ID, these variables that you have, they are declared as private or public.
Those are private.
So you are able to access them, right, using the
Yeah,
getters and
using
setters.
using getters and setters we can do.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
What are the different weights in Selenium?
We are having implicit weight, explicit weight, and fluent weight. Three weights we are having.
When do we use each one of them?
So implicit weight basically we can use whenever we want our script to wait before throwing any exception. Generally, explicit wait we will use when we want to wait for particular element uh, to get identified. So if we want to wait for any particular web element, in that case we will go with the explicit weight. Talking about a fluent weight we can manipulate, like it has options like we can provide a frequency that every 2 minutes or every 30 seconds, whatever the time period, it will execute before throwing an exception. So in fluent weight we can provide frequency, how frequently that weight should get executed. In explicit weight we can wait for particular web element, and implicit weight is like a general weight we use.
Can you give me an example of where you've used explicit weight?
Explicit weight, so whenever, as I said, so sometimes the web page gets loaded but the element is not found, that exception we get because the script is executing really fast. So in that case we can ask to wait until visibility of element located. That method is also there. So when we are targeting that particular web element, in that case we'll go with explicit wait.
Okay. Can you tell me about a few exceptions that you've encountered in your automation?
Sure. So one is related to Java null pointer. Then about Selenium, most common is no such element. Then stale element. Then we are having index out of bound exception is also there. Then WebDriver exception is also there if the location of the WebDriver is not exception of the driver is not provided correctly. Then driver related exception is also there. Again,
When do we get no such element exception?
no such element is like if our script are executing much faster compared to the browser. So
Okay.
it will try to find out the web element before even it's getting loaded. So in that case, we will get no such element exception.
And to resolve that, you use explicit weight.
Yeah, we can use explicit as well as implicit weight also.
Okay. And how about stale element reference exception?
Stale element reference is like when in the DOM the web element is not anymore, or it's getting refreshed. So as a part of the XPath in the DOM, it's getting refreshed every time. So in that case, we will get stale element exception.
How do you resolve that?
To resolve, we can one way is we can refresh the page again and wait if it's able to find out the exception. So sorry, not exception, it's able to find out the web element. Navigate dot refresh we can use. Second thing we can do is we can use a dynamic XPath where some part of XPath of that particular web element will be static and another part will be dynamic. So we can target that static part and we can find that particular web element.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the different locators that you use currently?
So, like ID, tag name, class name, XPath, link text. Yeah, these are some of them.
So do you write XPath from scratch? Have you done that, or do you use the tools that we have?
No, no, no. I write. I don't use any tools.
Okay.
Now there is that option also. We can just right click and there is copy as XPath option is also there. But copy as a XPath has one disadvantage that it will always pick the absolute XPath. So it will start from the tree and every child it will follow. So sometimes it throws an exception also, no such element, no such element. So it's better manually we find that which attribute is unique, and we write our XPath based on that unique attribute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you open like share your screen and
Mhm.
open Netflix on your screen?
Sure.
Okay. So here you can see that there is a language selector right on top,
Okay.
and over here there is the language. Okay, there is nothing on your screen.
It's only showing English.
Okay, I am able to see Hindi over here. Can you just type Netflix? Okay, you do have .com. Okay, why is it not showing anything else? It's quite strange.
Uh, uh, we have that option on Amazon also, as well. Shall we go to that?
Yeah, that's fine.
So here,
Okay, yeah, click on that. What all can you see? Okay, it's showing
it's
this.
showing options here.
Okay, yeah, it has the drop down, right? So, say for
Yeah.
example, if you have to change your language to Hindi,
Mm-hmm.
how will you write the XPath for this? What will be your approach?
Okay. Just- Okay, so first thing will be like we can click over here. We need to find out two web elements. First one is the web element of this one, and second one will be the web element of Hindi. And second thing is even if we just hover our mouse on this, it's showing the drop down.
Yeah. So, from the drop down, if you have to select Hindi, how will you do that?
Mm, we can use select class. We need to provide web element of this drop down into the select class, and in select class we are having method like select by index or select by visible text. So we can provide a text as hi, and I think it should select.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Okay, coming back to manual testing. Say you have a field for date of birth.
Mm-hmm.
You can enter your complete date of birth in that field.
Okay.
What all inputs will you try, different inputs in that field?
First, we need to check with the format. So if the format is DD, YY, so first attribute is so it should not accept more than 12 because we are having 12 months. If we are having first attribute as DD, then it should not accept anything more than 31 because maximum days could be 31. Again, it depends on which month we are into. And yeah, so with the format we need to first check. Second thing will be with the limits of date, with the limits of month, and with the limits of year. So uh, what is the past data it's allowing you to enter, maybe from 1990 or 1980 or 1950. So if we are having those limits, it should not accept anything beyond current date, or it should not even accept current date also. Well, it depends, but it should not accept current date and plus dates. So future dates it should not accept, and if we are having the past data limit, then before that it should not accept any date. These were some of the scenarios I could think of.
Okay. Anything else you think we can try? Any other way of inputting?
uh, Now, can we like directly manually we can enter the, does it accepting that input, or we need to select from the tables only? That is another way. So a way of input we can check on these two approaches. So either it will open the calendar pages and we have to just click, or we can, using keyboard also, we can manually enter it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Last question. Can you give me two examples of bugs with high severity and low priority?
Okay. So as per definition, priority will be uh, targeting the functional requirement according to the documentation. Severity will target seriousness of that particular functionality. So we need high severity but low priority.
Yes.
So these are the functionalities we are not very oftenly used, I would say. So if we are having a functionality which is rarely used, for example, if on the login page we are having a forgot password link, so if we are getting any issues with that particular link, then we can mark it as a high severity, but we'll keep it as a low priority. We can do that. And if any information of that particular website or that site is not correct, if a logo is not correct, that will be the high severely high, but priority could be low because it's not affecting any other functionality. So if logo is not correct, or the forgot password link is also there, or
In that case, severity is high or priority is high?
yeah, for logo priority will get high, severity will be less because it's not affecting any other functionality. For forgot password link, we have ones, and another one is like I can say contact us, uh, or the links which we provide on our website. No, those links, if those links are not working properly, the links which come at the bottom, which were rarely used, that we can like consider under high severity and low priority.
So this comes under one category, that you're saying that some functionality which is not very frequently used. Although forgot password is a frequently used functionality on any site, people usually in these days don't remember their passwords, even bank passwords. So that is actually a widely used functionality, right? Even you must be using it. So okay, still I'll consider that any functionality which is rarely used, if that is not working fine, It's a
That
high severity, low priority. But anything
okay.
other than this category.
If you are considering like a streaming platform, then if the video is not playing in any particular pixel quality, we can consider it as like if the video is supported for up to 720, it's not working in 1080, that can be considered as the high severity, as the functionality is not working, but will be a low priority as the other clarity is working. So it's not really affecting the user experience at that level. It is
Mm-hmm.
important, but it can come under this category: high severity, low priority.
Okay. 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 I think I'm done with the questions from my side, Nitin. Do you have any questions for me?
Just one, I would like to know about this role for which you are hiring. So what will be the roles and responsibilities, if you could tell me a little.
Okay, yeah. The position which you are interviewing for right now is the senior QA position, right?
Hmm.
So over here we have many different projects. So in some projects, we do have leads, and I think yeah, all of them we do have leads. And the senior QA basically, I would say the role is more into manual. There will be automation as well because we are planning on creating or either adopting the framework which we already have or creating a completely new framework. So that
Hmm.
is something we plan on doing in the next 1 month.
Okay.
And there will be automation as well, but primarily since these are OTT apps, there is a lot
Hmm.
of focus on how the UI is looking, whether or not the application is able to recover from interruptions like there are calls
Correct.
or there is network instability, these kind of things. So these cannot be very easily simulated with automation, right? Manual
Hmm.
has to be the first priority. So
Correct.
there will be majorly manual, there will be automation as well. And like I
Hmm.
said, yeah, and we also have sprints over here. We also have, the whole thing is owned by us. All the activities, like you mentioned, the same thing happens over here. We have a lot of collaboration with the devs, with the BAs.
Hmm.
So it's a similar kind of thing, just that the domain, probably OTT, will be completely new for you. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you've worked prior on OTT. So this is a very interesting domain. There will be a lot of mobile testing, the native app testing,
Hmm.
which even I had not done much before coming into this organization. So that is a completely new area of testing. So there is a lot to learn, and of course there is automation. I'm not sure like how much in depth of automation you have done. So there
Hmm.
will be probably another round where it will be majorly on automation.
Automation. Yeah.
Yeah, so there will be that, and yeah, like we're building the framework, so that is something probably if you get selected, that is from scratch you will be involved, I hope.
Yeah.
And
That's great. Great to listen.
yeah, yeah, that's all. And yeah, the team is great, everybody is very helpful. So
Hmm.
that's why there is a lot of collaboration, like I was saying, and the BAs over here are very helpful.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Great. Great.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's any other questions you have?
No, Trina, I'm good from my side.
Okay,
Thank you
okay,
very much.
thank you, Nitin.
Yeah.
Shrishma, I will get back to you. Yeah,
Sure.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you, bye
Have a
bye.
great day. Bye bye.
Yeah, yeah, bye.